In this class, we talked about population growth in general, but today we'll focus on what do the present and future of human population growth mean for our species and its interaction with the rest of the biosphere. But first, let's give some historical overview. For most of human existence, the population grew slowly because we had many limiting factors. There was very little food, a lot of predators and diseases, and half of the children didn't survive to adulthood. As civilization advanced, and most recently, several factors, including improved nutrition, where we have a lot of food, sanitation, where our world is a lot cleaner, and medicine dramatically reduced the death rates, which led to exponential human population growth, which is that J shape where our population is continually going up. Exponential growth continued, but recently the rate of growth is slowing down, and this is called demographic transition, meaning a change from high birth and death rates, for example, people having a lot of children, but the possibility of a lot of those children to die, to low birth and death rates, meaning having less children, but the possibility is that those children are going to survive. A large part of ongoing human population growth is happening only in 10 countries, with India and China in the lead. Globally, the human population is still growing rapidly, but the rate of growth is slowing down. In the United States, our J-shaped growth curve is changing into a logistic S-shaped growth curve, meaning that it's stabilizing. Current projections show that by 2050, the world's population will reach 9 billion people. And so we need to ask the question, what happens when a growing human population does not adequately manage natural resources that are both vital and limited? Let's take a look at some effects that human activity has had over the years. The first is agriculture, which is growing food for a dependable supply that can be stored for later, and this enabled humans to settle into towns and cities. In the last 50 years, modern agriculture has enabled farmers to double their food production. There's a thing called monoculture, which is the practice of clearing large areas of land to plant a single, highly productive crop year after year. Some examples you see here is things like grains, like corn and wheat, as well as soybeans. But this is going to impact the natural resources, including things like fresh water, which is needed to water the plants, and nutrients in the soil, which the plants need to grow. The growth of cities and suburbs is tied to the high standards of living that we enjoy, but this development of industries has environmental effects, where it produces a lot of waste, which, if it's not disposed of properly, will affect the air, water, and soil resources. And so we need what's called sustainable development, which is when we use natural resources to meet our needs without causing long-term environmental harm. And it will provide for human needs while preserving the ecosystem that produced those natural resources in the first place. The goal of sustainable development is to cause no long-term harm to soil, water, and climate on which we depend. And we must do more than just enable people to survive. It must help them improve their situation, but while consuming as little energy and material as possible. And so to do that, we want to be using renewable resources, which are resources that can be produced or replaced by a healthy ecosystem. For example, when you chop down a tree, a new tree can regrow where one was cut down. And this is going to be different from non-renewable resources, which are things that cannot be replenished within a reasonable amount of time, for example, like fossil fuels, like coal, oil, and natural gases. We mentioned previously in this class that fossil fuels are made from organic compounds, living things that are buried underground for millions of years, and the carbon turns from a living organism into things like natural oil and natural gases. And so since it takes millions of years for it to form, it's not going to be able to be renewed or replenished within a short amount of time, and that makes it a non-renewable resource. And so now that we know what sustainable development is and the use of renewable resources, in our next lesson we're going to focus on how to use those resources wisely and the effect it's going to have on the environment. Please make sure to answer the questions below correctly. Any questions, send it in the Google Classroom private message. And when you see me on Zoom, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.